I've heard it said that true progress really begins when you live on the edge of your comfort zone.
Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome to the show. My name is Will Sinclair, and you're listening to The Real Truth About You. This is a show where we help you to become the best that you can be, the best possible person you can be, by helping you discover your true self and the beauty within. And we do that through insights, interviews, and stories, and whatever it takes to kind of help you move ahead in your life. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about your comfort zone. And I've noticed in my life that sometimes, you know, for people who live in countries where there are winter, a lot of times you want to stay inside where it's nice and warm. You don't want to go outside, and you want to cozy up by a nice warm fire or by the TV or something like that, and you just don't want to go out when it's super cold. I mean, it's nice to get out and to enjoy the cold and the snow. If you come from that kind of area, maybe to you it's like, oh, I can't even imagine what minus 20 Celsius even feels like. But for those of us who come from those kind of countries, it's nice to get out sometimes, but a lot of times it's nice to get home and just to enjoy some hot chocolate and stuff like that. But the thing is, I'm talking about your life. And in life, sometimes we need to move out of that warmth, that comfort zone, the comfy area. You know, some people talk about getting off the couch, or when you think about sports, stop being a spectator and start being a participant in your own life. And a lot of times we need to get out. We need to get out of ourselves, out of our routines of just staying in the mundane to move ahead. I was listening to a podcast today, actually, from studiopress.fm, and they were interviewing a guy called Seth Spears, and Seth is one of those guru online internet marketing specialists that help people with their blogs and their companies and that kind of stuff. And right at the end of the podcast, he actually said, well, we all know that real progress only happens when you live on the edge of your comfort zone. And I thought, wow, you know, that is so true. That is so true. And if I look at the points in my life where significant change has happened, it's when I've moved away from the safety, you know, the safety ladder or the, what do you call those blankets, those comfy blankets that you... Anyway, those kind of things that you hold on to. You used to be a kid and suck your thumb and all that stuff. And when you get away from that and you get out and you really start to look at your life and you realize that there's something in your life that needs to change. And the only way to change that and to allow it to be transformed is to bring it to the surface. And some of the things that are, when you talk about comfort zone, you know, what is our comfort zone? A lot of times our comfort zone is when we just happy where we're at because we just don't want to, you know, we don't want to move ahead. We don't want to change anything. We've got our life to a point where we're just happy enough, and we know if we add anything to it or we do anything that it might upset everything, right? It might be your comfort zone, maybe that you've gotten into an argument with your partner, your life partner, or whomever that is, and you both are doing the silent treatment and you just don't want to deal with it anymore. And you've developed this comfort zone where you just don't deal with it. Or issues from your past, could be abuse issues with your parents or whoever it is, and just not dealing with it, not talking about it. That's your comfort zone. But we need to go beyond that. And that's one thing I've had to do a lot of in my life. I've had to move beyond what is comfortable, what keeps me stagnant. Because a lot of times we just want to sit in our own crap pile. We really do. I find that I was abused as a kid, and I know I talk about this quite often, but the issues that stem from that, some of them really hurt. And to go and deal with it, to go to a counselor, to go for spiritual guidance, some of those things, they hurt when they come up, but they only hurt for a short while. Like, they don't hurt forever. But they do become, like, if you leave something in you, like if you don't deal with something, if you stay in that zone that's comfortable, you're just sitting on the couch and you just don't want to get up and change that. When you're doing that, you're allowing it to be like an open wound, even though you think it's not open. And a wound that sometimes is left open and untreated will sometimes fester, and it'll bubble, and it'll get worse and worse. And that's what it's like in our lives. That's what it was like in my life when I didn't deal with things. Things just got worse and worse and worse. And I ended up, we were visiting my mom and my dad, and something happened, and the kids were little, and the whole thing just exploded. And when we came back home with my wife and our kids that were little at the time, we have 4 kids. There was just something that my wife said. She says, that is just not normal life. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, what? She says, what happened there? The way that there was this blow up, and then afterwards you were blamed for everything. And then afterwards it was like nothing happened. It was like nothing ever happened. Nothing was dealt with. Nothing was talked about. That's not normal life. And I started to think about it, and I couldn't quite fathom it, to be honest with you. I couldn't fathom what she really meant. But in the process, it was like a can of worms got opened from what she said. I don't know what it was. Something triggered within me. And I got to a point where I remember being at work, and I worked in this, did building maintenance in this department store. And I was downstairs in the furniture department, which was in the basement, and I just wanted to curl up on the floor in a ball and just cry. And I didn't know why. I didn't have a slightest clue why. And anyway, I went to my boss and I said, I gotta go. And I called my wife, of course, and she'd set up an arrangement. This is back in I think it was the 80s, 90s, or early 90s, something like that. And she had called this nun, a Catholic nun, and said, "Can my husband come and talk to you?" And so I did. My boss says, "Yeah, go, whatever." And so I went to talk, and it's just like I just sat and I bawled and I bawled and I bawled. Something that was inside that was bottling up. And that was almost a significant turning point in my journey. Up until that point, I thought life was life, and the way my childhood was normal life. I really did. And the things that happened in our home, I mean, there's dysfunction everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go, there's dysfunction. But I always say my home is a place where love and abuse coexisted. But the thing is if I left the whole thing, if I chose to leave it, which I did for most of my life because I was not even aware there was an issue, I would have developed this anger that actually I already had developed. I would wake up really angry. I would bust walls. I would bust holes in walls. I would break desk drawers. I would break things. I would slam cups on tables. I was so angry. I never hit my kids, or I hit my wife, but she lived with that. I mean, can you imagine living with that? And without dealing with it, without being aware of what was going on, I was allowing things to sit. But now that things were out in the open, then there was a process that was beginning. And it was a process of transformation that would take a lot of years. Transformation takes a long time. But I need to tell you that it's really, really, really worth it. Like, I really mean that it's worth it. If you've become aware that there's issues in your life, there's problems, right? Then you need to deal with those. You need to get to a point of transformation, of beginning the process. And you only get to that point, I think anyway, by living on the edge of your comfort zone, pushing yourself beyond. Like, if there's an issue, if you have anger, or and you've become aware of it, that's the big thing. Awareness is like the first step, or one of the first most important steps. When you look at Alcoholics Anonymous, awareness that you have an issue with alcohol, or that you're powerless over alcohol, is the first step. The first step towards healing. And when my wife had told me that, it doesn't matter what she said. When my wife told me that, then all of a sudden something opened up. And then when I went for this counseling session, which wasn't a big counseling session, but it was just an opportunity for me to start spurting out whatever came out. And which mostly was tears, right? And even as a guy, tears. But it set me on a path to more help, right? To more counseling. And it was through the counseling and allowing myself to go to counseling that the process of inner healing really began. And so I would encourage you that if you're aware of something in your life, and awareness has been brought into view for you, that you don't sit and analyze everything. Don't sit and try to figure things out by yourself, right? Don't try to be a lone island. Don't try to be independent of everybody else. In your comfort zone, I've heard it say so often by friends that when you, it's so much easier to blame everybody else than to go inside and deal with it. Whether it's to deal with it in the sense of allowing it just to come up and allowing your divine or the universe or whatever you want to call it to transform it and take it and heal you. When you don't allow it to come up, then you stay within that comfort zone. It's so much easier to blame others than to go into yourself. When you say, oh, that was their fault, even in an argument, oh, it was all their fault. If they hadn't done that, then I wouldn't be like this. If I hear it so often, if they loved me more, right, or they did this, then, everything would be better. But the truth of the matter is, nobody could ever love you enough if you don't love yourself. It doesn't matter what you do. No one will be able to love you enough. They'll never be able to measure up to what you need in life because you don't love yourself. And loving yourself comes with coming out of your comfort zone. It comes with getting to that point where you make yourself vulnerable to somebody else. When you make yourself vulnerable to your divine. When you make yourself vulnerable to your partner. And that vulnerability allows you to reach the core of who you are. It allows you to get to the intimate details and parts of what is the issues within you. Because we all have some kind of issues. But the beauty of this journey is the discovery that you are not crap. You are not a lowlife. You are not an argumentative person. You are actually awesome. You were created awesome. You have greatness and beauty already inside of you. It's already there. And what we've done is we've covered it up. So I would encourage you to go seek some kind of help. If you're already aware, if you're not aware, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, for one. right? And that's the beauty of everything. That's the beauty of this journey. You will actually start this journey and end up right back where you started with you. Except you'll have new, fresh eyes that see yourself in the beauty that you are and who you are. Richard Rohr's a Catholic contemplative priest, a Franciscan, and he says, and I just love this quote, he says that you become who you already are. You become who you already are. And that is this beautiful, divinely created person. You look at an infant, look at a baby. A baby comes out pure. A baby doesn't come out, with all these prejudices and, angry and like all kinds of stuff. A baby comes out pure. It's life. And the things that we allow to happen in life that cover up that beauty, that light that's within us. So you need to go on this journey. It's not a journey of distance. It's a journey of time. And you'll begin to realize that this journey is actually timeless. You'll begin to understand so many things. You will move to what I call the depths of the ocean. When you look at an ocean and it's so busy on the top sometimes it's nice and calm. The sun is shining. There's birds in the air. Just seems so beautiful. And other times it seems like there's a tempest. It's just brewing. And it's just the winds begin to howl and the waves kick up and it's just frantic on the top. Well, when you live on the top of the ocean, which is like living on the surface of your life, you get caught up in that. And to try and live in that is so difficult. You're blown every single which way. And that's all you see. You just wait for those days that are calm or sunny or peaceful. It could be your work. It could be anything. You're just like, I can't wait for some calm. Even though you might be a person who likes challenge and likes, vigor and that kind of thing. But we're talking about your state of life. You need to have a calmness about your life, a steadfastness, something that keeps you consistent and persistent. Even when you are, you can be a super active, fun party person and enjoys life, and then you enjoy your rest and blah, 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 and all those kind of things. And a person who's so like thrown into conflict and all kinds of stuff like that. But you always have this steadfastness about you. This strength, this inner strength, this calm, this peace that just seems to ooze out of you. And that's when you live in the depths of the ocean. When you look at the depths of the ocean, it is teeming with life, but yet it has got a calmness to it, a strength. And that's what you're looking for. That is what you're looking for. And you only get that. I'm going to be honest with you. I've only found that strength, that peace, that beauty by connecting with your divine. And I don't know who your divine is for you. For me, I choose to call my divine God. I come from a Judeo-Christian Catholic upbringing, but I've learned and slowly discovered God within. That God has planted God's self within me. And that is the strength. Being able to see God from God. Pretty deep stuff. But we only begin when we get out of that comfort zone. When we're living on the surface and we're trying to get to the depths, right? We have to get out of our comfort zone. And we have to move forward in that. We have to progressively say, okay, and the the Buddhists call it dying before you die. And it's a process of dying to yourself, right? Letting all the garbage go that you filled your life with. Dying to yourself. And I don't mean physically dying, but dying before you die is before you actually die, right? And I'm not saying once you've given up everything, you're going to die. That's not what I'm saying. But you can only fully live life when you allow all this crud stuff, all the false self things. I call it almost like a false embrace. I came into a realization that I don't remember as a child ever being embraced by my mother or my father. Right? I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't remember any of it. And so I think I built up false embraces all my life. I built up a false self. I built up a security blanket, a bulletproof vest around me. And I have to let that go. I have been going through a process of letting all of that die so that I can get to the true divine within me, that light, that strength, that depth of the ocean. So get out of your comfort zone at the start. Stop being an observer of life and start being a participant. Okay? So this has been a great time to spend with you, just over 21 minutes. I want to tell you really quickly about the power of your mind. And I talked about, and I have these videos I have put out. They're called Minute Messages. They're on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you go to my website, therealtruthaboutyou.com, you'll be able to get access to those. But one of them was about the conveyor belt. And it was something that actually Wayne Dyer talks about, Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he talks about this conveyor belt and the importance of your imagination and your mind and what you feed into your mind. And that you can actually change your whole disposition by transforming your mind and allowing your mind to be transformed. And so he talks about a conveyor belt of thoughts, that you actually get to pick a thought from a conveyor belt, right? So if you imagine this conveyor belt of thoughts that goes by you all the time, and there's all different kinds of thoughts in there, and sometimes somebody might do something that ticks you off and it makes you really angry, and you start thinking bad things about them and this fault and their fault and blah, 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 blah. And all it's doing is send you into more of a tizzy and more of a spiral, you know, and it's one of those never-ending things, right? But you get to actually, if you become aware that you're thinking these things, you can take that thought and you put it back on the conveyor belt and you pick up a different thought. And maybe it's a thought of something really happy that happened in your life. Something that made you really content or peaceful, a day on a beach or a holiday or a promotion, or sometime you got something that really made you feel good, and you take that thought and you put that thought in your mind. So you get to choose your thoughts today. Okay? So get out of your comfort zone and make sure you protect your mind. Okay, I want to play a song. Oh, transition music. I want to play a song for you that's, it was recorded many, many years ago, back in the 80s, and it's by a girl whose, her original name was, oh, good heavens. And here's the thing about live recording. Okay, Tracy Ripplinger. And she was a good friend of mine back in the 80s, and she wrote a song called Love, and I recorded it on my really old cassette recorder stuff, and I want to play it for you. Her married name now is Tracy Jackknife, and she's married to just an awesome guy, and they live out in Alberta, Canada, in the province of Alberta, and I don't know what she's doing right now, but anyway, she gave me permission to play this song for you. And she wrote it, and it's called Love. And it's a Christian-based song, but really listen to the lyrics, because that's our one goal in life. Our one goal in life is to love, right? If there's any goals that we have, is to love. And so I just want to play this song for you, okay, by Tracy Jackknife. Oh, there we have it. Tracy Jackknife and Love. And yes, that was me doing harmonies. Okay, you have been listening to The Real Truth About You, and you can go to the website, therealtruthaboutyou.com. And on the website, you can download some more resources and see my minute messages that I'm putting up there. I've done one so far right now, and this is November 2016. I'm going to put a whole pile more up that I've already recorded. And so anyway, but you can go there and get some more resources, therealtruthaboutyou.com. I'd love to hear from you. So make sure you comment or send us a message on our contact page. I love you lots, and remember, you guys absolutely rock.